I set out thinking I was doing a one-night passage, and instead I'm doing a 1,500-mile passage. Goodbye, French Polynesia! So I just drived over for Fiji. I'm surfing 9.5 knots down the backs of some of these waves. This is so crazy. I mean, yes, it's a little uncomfortable down below. Yes, I had to sit down to brush my teeth because I needed 2 hands to hold on. But it's also a little bit exhilarating to stand outside and feel the force of the wind and the waves on my boat. I kind of feel like I'm just riding this crazy flying horse. Maybe it's just the sleep deprivation talking. This is crazy. Every night I turn on my VHF, which has AIS connected to it, and set a CPA guard alarm for 5 nautical miles. So this means that if any boat transmitting AIS, which is all commercial vessels and most sailboats, gets let's see, if it will get within 5 miles of me, I'm alerted to it. And so now that night has come, I've just turned on my nav lights. Just hit a wave. I'm gonna turn this guy on. And that's that. Wow, it's really hard to not be holding on to something. I'm using the one hand for the camera. So this tiny target here is what the blob will show up on, so it doesn't really do much good in telling. If it's a close pass, I usually can't tell how it's going to come out, of what side of me they're going to, but then I just go outside and look at the lights. And here, once it connects to the satellites, it'll tell me everything. Okay, this is way too hard to do with this rolling. And then I just hang this cloth in front of it because it's really bright otherwise at night. And I'm gonna go lie down again because that's all I can do sometimes when the waves kick up. Either that or cling on for dear life. There we go. So as I promised myself, I had half the pamplemousse in celebration of 1,000 miles. And I saved all the rinds in this bowl. Since in this family we use all of the beast, I'm going to separate the white part from the rind part and try to candy these puppies and see. I don't know if the recipe is different from candied almonds, but all I have to go on is the candied almond recipe. So I will just use the same ratios, except probably not add cinnamon because I think that would be weird, and try to do that. Oh my god, it's so rough right now. Yeah. So to peel them, what am I gonna use? Sharp knife, I guess. I feel like I should leave some, but not a lot, except use avocado.
Hey, Miss Magical, what you up to? Can I have a minute of your time? You want me to turn my heel and forget you? All I know, it can't be done. I'm only asking once, would you let me take a minute of your time? You might just be surprised at where it gets you. All I know, I'm in it for the ride. But you don't care if you hurt me. Leave me on for fun. Not for once, I'm telling you.
Okay, the peels are cooling on the cutting board. I think the one thing I'd change next time I do it is to add a little less water, because the rinds have natural liquid in them on their own. I also have cut them into various shapes just to see which shapes and sizes work the best. The consensus on these, I've pulled the entire boat and everyone agrees. They're a little bit bitter, but in a nice way. And the aftertaste is really refreshing in my mouth. They're not as crystallized as I'd like them to be. So I think when I do the next ones, when I eat the second half of this pamplemousse, I'm going to put more sugar in and less water than I did last time. But it's actually become almost translucent. I don't know if you can tell in the camera. It's pretty cool. Yeah, you can kind of see through it. And it's super delicious. The weather has been so rough for the past couple days that I can't do anything with at least 2 points of contact. So usually that's a hand holding onto something and a hip wedged into something else, while the one free hand tries to do everything. I have my hatch just cracked the tiniest bit just to try to get some fresh air in here, but I'm still getting spray in a minimal amount, but you can just see even from my iPad screen, you can see the spray on it from the last couple waves. Basically just been here in my bed making trips to the galley to make myself food and drinks, and to commemorate this fact, I've created a new segment for you guys called Ghost Ship. I have been basically trapped inside for the past 3 days because the weather has been so horrendous that I can't really be out in the cockpit unless I just want to get sprayed all the time. And it's so rough that I can't really do much of anything, as you saw in the ghost ship segment. But I am really proud of myself because I just have a very strong mind, and I am 100% keeping my shit together. Some people say solo sailors go crazy when they're at sea. To those people I say, they are weaklings. I am strong. I can do whatever I wish, and I proceed with only elegance, and I am the modicum of self-control. I just hang out. Straight chillin', reading sophisticated things, writing poetry, philosophizing on the ancient Greek philosophers. Nothing else happens. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red. I do declare, who made this cup of tea? I sigh to sing, I sigh to sing. What would I look like if all of me was blue? I'm blue and da-ba-dee-da-ba-die and da-ba-dee-da-ba-die. Everything looks different. This is what it would be like if I lived in a fish tank. Whoa. Do fish get seasick? Okay. For those of us who are blind, we have our prescription inside glasses and we have our prescription outside glasses, and some fancy people have ones where the lens is changed from inside to outside. Personally, I don't really like those. But dear optometrists, why don't we make one of each eye glasses so that you just choose your eye. So when I was 6 years old, my parents and my brother, sister, and I sailed on our 33-foot steel boat from Bermuda to Iceland, and it was a very rough passage. A lot of it was close hauled. And I'm sitting here in my boat, which is 27 feet, so not that much smaller than the boat that the 5 of us were on, and just trying to imagine what it would have been like to not only be sailing to Iceland, which is badass enough in and of itself, close hauled with the weather really nasty, really windy, really wavy, slowly getting colder and colder, but also to have 3 children to entertain. And I remember my mom just lying down with us down below for hours and hours reading aloud to us. It just gives me new levels of appreciation. Like, if I want to nap, I just close my eyes and do that. But if you have kids, you're not only standing watch, but you're also entertaining them. So props to you, Mom and Dad. Guess what, chicken butts? Today it's sunny. I'm so excited. The waves are way down, the wind is down. In fact, I am slowing myself down now because I would arrive in Fiji on a Saturday, which is like $1 billion in overtime fees for the agents, so I'm arriving Monday instead. So life is very chill, and I want to introduce you to, this is version 3 of the wind vane persuader. Version 1 was tying the chain to the side, version 2 was lashing the little plate down, version 3 is much more sophisticated. Basically, the problem is that this little plate here moves on its own, so I just need to introduce some more tension into the system. What I'm guessing, and this is a very uneducated guess, is that there was some sort of a springy thing, or a split ringy across, I don't know the right word for it, something like that, that was sort of adding tension into the system and preventing this plate from moving. So basically what I'm doing is creating an artificial that. This is far superior to the first 2 because one, it wasn't actually the chain that was the problem in the first place, so the first one didn't work well. The lashing one was really annoying because every time I changed course I had to relash it. The bungees, as you can see, actually give me some play, and I'm able to make the usual little course adjustments that I make throughout the day as the wind shifts or the waves change. And so it's kind of a set it and forget it situation. I have been doing some jibing, so obviously I have to redo it then, but it only takes a second to put on. So I am very excited about this, and if it happens to be a broken part that I need to order in and I have to wait a month or 2 to get it, I know that I can use this system without too much trouble. In other exciting news, I'm able to actually sit up. Exhibit A. Very exciting times instead of being wedged into my bunk. I'm outside again. I put up my little sunshade in the cockpit, and I'm just chilling out here reading. The water's a different color today. It's more of a muddy blue, and the seas are way down. I have these 2 cute birds who are sort of checking out my wake, and I'm pretty close to land. So just made a super yummy focaccia bread and some hummus, so this is going to be my dinner, I guess. 5 more days of this nonsense before I can eat real food again. There's a nasty squall coming, so I've prepped myself in my little rain jacket, stupid pointy hood, It's pretty big wind, so I've turned to just run with it. I was on sort of a wind on the quarter reach before, but it's better to just run with these guys when they're really big and bad. It makes for a lot smoother of a ride. So, ooh, big stuff. Looks like rain is coming. I'm going almost twice my hull speed right now, just steady. The seas are kind of bearing up around me because they're pushing my boat faster than it can go, and the wind vane is totally buried up to its little struts, which is making it have a hard time steering. It's in the raining portion of this squall right now, but I think this is gonna last a while because it's a biggin. It's a really big biggin. Alright, putting the GoPro inside. Stay dry, my friend! That was intense. At the peak of its ferocity. Oh, maybe I don't want to do that yet, it's still raining. It must have been blowing in the 30s, at least the low 30s. It was total whiteout, just rain sideways, huge waves. My boat was doing this scary thing. It sinks the transom down really low, and the waves were kind of coming up around it, even towards the front, which makes me wonder how it'll do in really big weather, big following seas. Maybe need to think about shifting some weight around from the back to forward. Anyway, most of the squall has passed, and there's a little bit of blue opening up behind me, so this is kind of the post-squall drizzle, and probably the wind will drop for a bit after this whole thing passes, which is fine with me. So, I just changed my time to Fiji time. I've been slowly turning it. Its Fiji time is 2 hours different than French Polynesia time. I changed it to American Samoa time about 5 days ago, put it on Fiji time, and suddenly it went from Thursday to Friday, and I was like, what? No way, that's not possible. Fiji's across the date line. So, I could potentially be in 3 days instead of 4 days. I've been slowing myself down for the past week and a half to arrive not on the weekend, and all of a sudden I realize I'm wrong. So I just put up some more sail. I am going 5.5 knots, and I think I'm gonna make it in by Monday, Fiji Monday, Holly Sunday in my heart. This is crazy, and the waves are way down, and oh my gosh, today's Friday! Surprise Friday party! Also, an unfortunate thing just happened. The block on my main sheet, one of the little rollers just exploded. I've checked and I can still pull in and ease the main sheet, which is good, but it's gonna be on the list of things I have to fix, along with my stove, my wind vane, and now this block when I get into Fiji. Good morning. It is another fun squall morning. Last night there were squalls all night long. I have a lot more sail up now that I'm trying to make it in 2 days instead of 3, which means that I had to actually start paying attention to these squalls a little more. I've taken down my head sail. It's super windy, but I have a full main up, and I'm thinking maybe I should throw some reefs in, because this looks like a nasty one like yesterday's, which was really scary, even with 2 reefs in. So yeah, just another day full of horrible squalls. Great passage. Well, that one actually wasn't such a bad squall. I think I just caught the edge of it. Got a little bit of rain, so now I'm back below trying to stay dry. One of the gimbals broke on my stove. So the stove has these little pins with circles on the end of them, and those slot into holders on the sides, and that's what the stove pivots on. This one is still intact. This one has just snapped off. I think it's rusted. I mean, I bought this stove new, but it's kind of a piece of shit. I hate to say it, but it keeps breaking. So there's nothing I can do about it now. I think I need to get it welded. I've wedged these pieces of coral into the side, and I've kind of wedged the stove into this side, and it's staying. So my hope is that it'll stay like this until I get in, and hopefully I can find a stainless welder somewhere to fix it. So last night there was just this string of squalls that came through from 11 to about 4 in the morning. Each squall had about 10 minutes between it. Sometimes there would be no wind and pouring rain, and I'd have to go out and hold my course. Sometimes it would just roll right into the next squall. Each squall about 30 to 35 knots. So it was a pretty exhausting night. It's still really squally. The seas are coming down because now I'm in the lee of some of the reefs. But with my stove not gimbaling anymore, now anytime I cook, it's sort of an interesting problem because I actually have to hold the thing onto the stove or it'll slide off. So right now I'm just making a cup of tea, but I have to hold the kettle on because it'll go flying. I made popcorn earlier and it was really scary because I had, you know, a pot of boiling oil that I was holding onto the stove. But some of these waves are huge and they just knocked my boat right over, so I'm not always guaranteed that I can stand up. I'm taking a risk right now holding the GoPro in one hand and the kettle in the other, but it's because there's a little less wave. So anyway, luckily I get in tomorrow, so I don't have that much more to deal with cooking underway. Thank you guys for watching this week's video. I put out new videos on YouTube every 2 weeks, and for my patrons, you guys get a snack on the weeks I don't put out a YouTube. If you'd like to join me on Patreon, you can get exclusive access to all of the snacks that I've published. I also take requests from you guys to make videos about certain things I do on my boat, parts of my life that I don't share with YouTube, like if you have any specific questions about my rig or how I do a certain operation, then I'm always happy to make videos just for you guys to explain a little more in depth about how I'm doing what I'm doing. If you'd like to become a patron, my Patreon is patreon.com/windhippie. For one-time donations, I have a PayPal, paypal.me/windhippie, and if you'd like merchandise, I have some sick shirts and other stuff. In the description below, there's a link to my online website shop of wonderful things. I should probably think these thingies through before I start talking, but I never do. Thank you, Tish, for helping me to schedule these videos on YouTube and get them up on time. Thank you guys for just being such an awesome community and always being supportive and loving of me. I really appreciate it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Patrons, I'll see you guys next week. YouTubers, I'll see you in another week's.